up today we have a real life story, which is always nice to hear. I don't know where Julia is in the audience. Julia, you're up next.
I wondered if everybody might like to stand up and have a shake. I've been sitting like me for a while and a bit stiff. So if anybody wants to stand up and give a shake, see you've been sitting so quietly, feel free.
Stretch your bones.
Thank you.
That's all right. Here we go.
Thanks, Jill. I'm out of practice with this, so please be patient. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the two speakers. I'm sure I'm going to put my foot in it somewhere. We've been doing this for 22 years with our son, and we kept below the fence because we weren't always sure if we were doing the right thing. So having realistic, flexible funding is so exciting. Our family, it's worked well for us. We've been very fortunate, and my daughter and granddaughter with me who are part of our team. We're a very small family, and I have a son, and my husband's, we planned what he should do because he was diagnosed with autism late in life, but it was very obvious very early in life, and he's non-verbal. And we'll show some slides. This is our Richard here on our lifestyle block. We're a rural family, so it seemed to be sensible to have a lifestyle block for him. He was never going to be getting a paid employment as such because he can't do things on command or on demand, and he has that time thing that I think a lot of autism people have. It's in their own time. So when he was young, he was in residential services, and 2 of those. He was at badly abused, sadly, and we went to the Royal Commission because of that. And we were very lucky to have it, but we're still waiting for some of the recommendations to be put in place. So we've been through the mill with him there, and it made us start thinking because we actually exited from the last residential service. My son was exited. It was really hilarious because he wasn't exited, I was. They asked the questions they didn't want to answer. Like, he was 20, and what's his funding going to his funeral package for? Where is it? Who said he should have a funeral package at 20? So we asked these questions, and I think they didn't like that, so we were exited, sadly, just before Christmas. But we actually took a bit of time to sort out what we would do. Luckily, my husband and I always felt our son needed to be on a lifestyle block. He needed access to a good old workshop. He needed people with him who would be supporting him. He needs 24/7 support. He's very autistic. He needs to have prompting, supervision, oversight, very like brain injury, and a buddy really that he can do things with. It seems to help a lot. So after being exited, what was it like though in that situation? He had no control on his life. I mean, I don't know how we would manage if we didn't have a say in who we lived with, what house we lived in, what we did in the day, where we went. We all bundled in a bus because somebody else wanted to go somewhere where we didn't want to go at all. I don't know how we cope with that when I look back, but he managed that. And after that being exited in 2004, we decided what could we do. We needed to look at the plan that my husband and I had originally had. His passion was tractors. He used to be known as the tractor man, and for many years I went around showing PowerPoints about Richard as the tractor man because he learned to drive it, and he drives it himself and can mow the paddocks and now does the lawns. And you know, a lot of people have special interests on the spectrum, and they're really very clever and able with these interests. His other interest is technical Lego. Of course, it's everything to do with diggers and wheels. So he has a whole cabin full of Lego. Well, when you reach 50, you've been getting 2 presents every year for Christmas at least, because you don't say 1, you say what would you like, and he says 2 tractors. So we didn't think that he couldn't say 1, so he's always been getting 2 of everything. So we have lots of Lego packages. So it was a really hard time, and we put into practice, we thought we didn't want a trust to manage his funding. We thought that we would be company because it was only $50 on the internet to register as a company. So in 2004, we registered as a company and collected some family and friends and some amazing gurus who were in the disability sector at that time to help us see how we could do this. So overnight we became employers. And I think there's a big issue here with needs assessment and employment issues because you have to abide by employment law. And we're hoping to have the employment law be better for support people in the future, aren't we again? Because that law was actually stopped and cut. So talking about not increasing funding is a real misnomer because you've got oranges and apples. You're employing staff who have come under an employment law, but you can't always put their wages up and things because your needs assessment, once you've got your needs met, they don't increase. So your funding is limited. So there's a lot of work to be done in this area, and parents, please get involved and be very active and very noisy, because otherwise we won't get there. There's been lots of changes, you can imagine. This has been 5 decades for me, and we really appreciate of the flexible funding now. We were probably doing it before. It was like Enhanced Good Lives. We did it without thinking about it. We were already doing it. We've had EIF, discretionary funding, and we set on EIF being in Western Bay. One of the things that I think came up for us, because we needed to buy a lifestyle clock if we wanted the strated tractor for our son. So when he came out of that service, we bought a lifestyle block so it would put on. And our daughter said very, very cleverly one day, "Mum, it's a pity Rich didn't have a passion for a goldfish in a bowl." Much easier than having to have a lifestyle block that we have to manage. And I'm going to lecture in a personal secret at the moment because today is the 19th of June, and in 2000, my husband had a serious accident on the farm, and he has sustained brain injuries since then. So today is quite a special day. But I think it's an important one because he was there all the way with Richard, teaching him how to do things. And if you see the movies, you will see him working. It's stopped, I think. Is it stopped? You will see the things that he's been taught to do and work in the workshop. So we make all sorts of things in the workshop, which is his day service. But to do that, we needed to employ staff, and we needed to make the change that he was in control. So he was part of the interview team on any staff member coming in. So any new interviewees came, and Richard was there. And the most important thing with any support person, is that they are a good match. Don't give up halfway. Go through 46 people if you have to get a good match. And you can tell by the way they talk, the way the language they use, the way they interact with a person like our son. You can pick those vibes up, and he certainly picks them up and lets you know if he thinks that's a good match for him. So that was a big change and a really positive change. And then with the house that we built, a little cottage that he could have on the lifestyle block, and we were very fortunate to do this because we sold the farm when my husband had the accident, so we were very fortunate. And it was making things work for Richard. At that stage, he'd come out of this place with no choices, with terrible behaviours, and he'd got really ill health-wise. His stress and his anxiety had just escalated hugely. And so we had a lot of work to do to get him right. And so he was very destructive, so we needed to build everything that was nailed or screwed down, and we learnt to make some Velcro curtains, because curtain rods are actually lethal weapons for people who have challenging behaviours. So we learned a lot. And Richard would then look after his home by taking the curtains off in the morning, folding them up and putting them nicely in the cupboard, and then putting them back at night. And they could go back at night at any time, because in the residential service you usually get plumped into bed or after tea at 5 o'clock. So these made huge changes to his life, and you could see the way that helped him to grow as a person. So the funding we've used has been for his support people. It is 24/7 support. And to make that work as well, we chose to ask people to stay for a full day, from 8 in the morning till 8 the next morning. Meaning then you can go out and party, that's what going for 10-pin bowling or going to the movies. And you don't have to rush somebody home because they've got to go home to their work after working. And so it also helped with transitions, because we had one transition of a person with Richard on that once a day. And these are the things that we noticed. I mean, to transition him out of the car when we'd go out sometimes could take up to 45 minutes and all sorts of things. So you learn about this, if any of you will know who've got kids who are on the spectrum. They teach us so well, and I'm sure we're all better for it. So the staff come in 24/7, and 3 times a fortnight most of people work for, because it seems to work a life balance for them and their work. So that's in a fortnight, three shifts a week, a fortnight, and that was easier to budget for as well. It also covers you. I think we have 6 in the team, 5 on a regular basis, because that helps cover for anybody being away. And you can imagine the stress if you couldn't get somebody for that 24 hours. I was often busy looking after my husband, and I could not look after both at once. It certainly didn't work well when you tried. So Richard did well, and you can see he's taking a pride in his home. He's doing these everyday things. He wasn't always able to do everything. He would go into another world. Now, those are whistles that they made in the workshop, and he even tries to blow them. It's definitely helped our life, and having another team there, he showed us he didn't want us to be his support people. He got really angry and vicious sometimes, and we realised we needed to step back and have just the right people. We're very fortunate we have 4 guys on his team, and so they're great mates, and you only see Richard on his own, but there's always a support person around. He's unpredictable, which is challenging when he's on the little ride-on or the tractor. So we had one person designated as a tractor driver, very conscious of all our OSH regulations and everything, and in the workshop. I think having been on the farm ourselves as farmers, we're pretty conscious of a lot of those basic things we needed to think about. But it's been a huge learning curve, and we do feel we're coming out the other side now. The NASC has been a great help locally, SupportNet, we can't say more than that. We've just gone to a new provider host, which is we're looking forward to, called Access. For us, the communication between the providers and us is really important. I believe when people get too big, they're not there the same for you, and I think that's something we need to think about. Also, my husband and I are aging, so we're in a different stage of our life. Rich had his 50th birthday the other day, so he's in a different stage. And that's why I was interested to know about these tiers, that you can go up and down in the tiers, because there are times when you need a little more support or conversations, and others that you don't. I always think I shouldn't have notes because it's my own life, but it does get tricky at times when you forget. 22 years is a lot to remember. But the main things are, go and try it. It doesn't work for every family. It's a terrible lot of work with all the book work and everything. But we can see the benefit for our lad. He has his tractor key in his pocket. There's a problem with his shorts because they pull the drawers down because he has keys in his pocket. And he has his home key in his pocket. And he's very proud of his home. And so he has just done amazingly well. His part of the community is, he doesn't like going out to lots of things. And when he was younger, he went to a teenage group. He was autism in Australia. But sadly, we don't have that anymore. And things change. And I think sometimes this word community is a misnomer for a lot of families. Being rural, when you went to town, you went to see and do things with people who were in the trades and businesses. You did all the work you wanted while you went to town. You didn't have that concept of leisure and activities, and I think we need to help put that in perspective for individuals very, very carefully. So there's people coming on and off the property, of course, and there's my husband with his support team that he has from ACC, very gratefully. And there's the family coming in and out. So he's got a big community without actually stepping off the property. COVID did a lot of damage for him, and he became a recluse, and we couldn't get him out of the cottage. He's very sensory, so bad days of wind or rain or too hot were all issues. And as a mum, I got a bit horrified because all he likes to wear is rash shirts, but they fit his sensitive skin well, and he's comfortable in them, so why not? But so you need to be flexible and think that I'm very happy to support any family who just wants to talk a bit more or have some ideas. I see it's like a sieve. We hold all these ideas that we've done, and some of them might work for you, but a lot of them will just fall through. But we've been there, and you can imagine it's been up and down. Without the strong team in my family, we would never have managed. And the benefit to Richard, it's like, where would he be if we hadn't done this? And we need to keep doing this for the rest of his life. And I see there are more options of how we have people in their own space, but perhaps in group of areas. I'm interested in real estate and building, and we're not doing anything there yet. And there's opportunity for families to get together and think what's going to work. They don't want to live with somebody. They need support. It might be all of the time, like our lad, because in any emergency situation you have fight or flight. With our one we have freeze, and he just stays, and it's like a horse, you can't move it. So there are things you have to think about, emergency situations and how that works. So my first part was controls that were there for him, and the freedom of funding has given no controls for him, so he's having an ordinary life. And my third part is, please, as parents, be vocal, stand up, use your advocacy, say what you think is working for your kids or family member. Get involved with these dratted bills. That one should be thrown out and burnt, the latest disability one. There's some good communication ones coming up online. Please try and do them, or get friends to help you do them. We've fought really hard to get where we are, and I'd hate to see us slip back. And we don't want institutions. I've been part of that part, and we cannot afford to do that. New Zealand's too good. We've got too many amazing people with knowledge and lived experience in every direction. So please get involved and help those things. Thank you very much. I will take any questions if I can answer them.